You've probably heard this before. According to the laws of physics, bumblebees shouldn't be able to fly. It sounds dramatic, it sounds scientific, and it's completely wrong. Yet the myth refuses to disappear. It shows up in motivational speeches, science memes, and even classroom discussions. The idea is that the bee's body is too big, its wings too small, and somehow it just flies anyway, like a tiny act of rebellion against physics itself. But here's the truth. Bumblebees do not defy physics. They obey it beautifully. Today, we're breaking down where this myth came from, what scientists got wrong, and how bumblebees actually stay airborne, using some surprisingly advanced aerodynamics. Right here, on History of Simple Things. The story traces back to the 1930s. A French entomologist, often said to be inspired by calculations from Swiss aerodynamicist Jakob Ackeret, reportedly made a rough calculation suggesting that a bee's wings were too small to support its weight. The problem? Those calculations were based on fixed-wing aircraft equations, the same kind used to design airplanes. But bees are not tiny airplanes. Airplanes rely on rigid wings and smooth airflow. Bumblebees, on the other hand, flap their wings around 130 to 240 times per second, depending on the species. Their wings don't stay still long enough to behave like airplane wings, so the early math wasn't wrong, it was just applied in the wrong way. Once researchers began studying insect flight properly, especially in the late 20th century, using high-speed cameras and smoke visualization, the mystery disappeared. Bumblebees weren't breaking the rules. Scientists just hadn't been using the right rules. If you look at a bumblebee, it doesn't scream aerodynamic marvel. Species like the Bombus terrestris have round, bulky bodies covered in dense hair. Compared to sleeker insects like dragonflies, they seem clumsy. Their wings are relatively small compared to their body mass. On top of that, bumblebees often carry heavy loads of pollen and nectar back to their nests, so visually it feels counterintuitive. Bigger body, small wings, heavy cargo. That's why the myth is so appealing. But flight at small scales works very differently from flight at the scale of airplanes. Here's where it gets fascinating. Instead of flapping their wings up and down like birds, bumblebees rotate their wings in a figure-8 pattern. This motion creates something called a leading-edge vortex. As the wing slices through the air at a steep angle, it generates a swirling pocket of low pressure above it. That low-pressure zone helps pull the bee upward, creating extra lift. In simple terms, the bee creates tiny controlled air tornadoes above its wings. Because insects are so small, the air behaves more like a thick fluid to them. At their scale, air feels denser and more resistant. Bumblebees take advantage of that by using rapid wingbeats and sharp angles to keep lift high. There's also something called unsteady aerodynamics. Unlike airplane wings that rely on smooth, continuous airflow, insect wings constantly disturb the air. That disturbance actually helps generate more lift. In fact, studies show that bumblebees can generate more lift than their body weight, giving them the ability to carry surprisingly heavy loads relative to their size. Bumblebees don't flap their wings using direct muscle pulls like birds do. Instead, they use indirect flight muscles. These muscles deform the thorax, basically squeezing and releasing their body like a spring. That deformation causes the wings to snap up and down automatically. It's incredibly efficient. The muscles are asynchronous, meaning one nerve signal can trigger multiple wing beats. That's how they achieve such high frequencies without exhausting themselves instantly. Interestingly, bumblebees can also change the amplitude of their wing strokes. If they need more lift, say while carrying pollen, They increase the stroke angle rather than just flapping faster. This flexibility allows them to adapt to different loads, wind conditions, and even temperature changes. Here's another impressive fact. Bumblebees can fly in colder temperatures than many other insects. They're capable of warming their flight muscles by vibrating them before takeoff. This behavior is similar to shivering. It allows them to raise their thoracic temperature high enough for effective muscle function. That's why bumblebees are commonly found in cooler climates and at higher altitudes, unlike honeybees which prefer warmer conditions. Their robust body, once seen as a disadvantage, actually helps them retain heat. So that chunky appearance? It's not bad design. It's specialized engineering. So, why do we still believe the myth? Because it's poetic. The idea that a bee flies, even though it shouldn't, is inspiring. It sounds like a metaphor for overcoming odds, but scientifically it's outdated. Modern aerodynamic research, especially from the late 1990s onward, has clearly demonstrated that insect flight is not only possible, it's elegantly optimized for small-scale physics. The myth survives because it's catchy, not because it's accurate. And honestly, the real explanation is far more impressive than the myth. Bumblebees aren't defying physics, they're mastering it. Next time you see a bumblebee wobbling through the air, it might look like it's barely holding itself together. But beneath that fuzzy exterior is a highly refined flight system built on rapid wingbeats, swirling vortices, elastic thoraxes, and precise muscle control. What once seemed impossible turned out to be a misunderstanding of scale and aerodynamics. So no, bumblebees don't break the laws of physics. They simply remind us that nature figured out complex engineering solutions long before humans ever built their first airplane. And honestly, that's way cooler than defying gravity. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.